Hey, Captain Rusty Rivers coming to you once again. Well, folks, you hear us always talking about when a woman hits the wall in a manosphere. And there seems to be three specific things associated with that, which are hallmarks of a woman hitting the wall. The first being when she can no longer pull Chad or Tyrone the way that she used to. The second being that her physical body, biology wise, has either reached the age where she's running out of eggs or has ran out of eggs. And the third of which is basically a combination of the first two, which is her overall physical beauty has basically faded, hence hitting the wall and getting smashed up. All three of these characteristics or hallmarks of hitting the wall for a woman are all rooted in physicality and or biology. However, one of the things that we don't talk about enough, oh wow, the Wildcats are having a fight out there in the woods somewhere. One of the things we don't talk about in the manosphere enough is when does a man hit the wall? What are the characteristics of that? What are the flags along the way that he's getting there, has gotten there, or is way beyond having already been there? And this is something that I've given a lot of thought about over the years. And it's a combination of things that I have heard versus things that I have come up with myself. And just a overall gathering of everybody else's opinion. And for me, my own personal theory that I came up with as to when a man hits the wall, it is when no other man sees that man as a threat anymore. Think about that. Now, without making this long and drawn out, let's take two examples to try to flesh out what I'm thinking here, the reasoning behind when I say the characteristic of when a man hits the wall is when he is no longer perceived as a threat by any other man. Okay, let's take a 30-year-old who is fat, has no job, lives with his mother in the proverbial basement, if you will, sleeps all day, eats, wakes up at late at night and starts playing video games, eating nachos and Cheetos on the couch until the sun comes up, and then he goes back to sleep again. Now, I think all of us would agree that a 30-year-old with that type of lifestyle, that is the type of man that he is, that guy is no threat to any other man whatsoever. Okay? And I would argue that 30-year-old has already hit the wall. And it does not matter how young he is or how old he is. It's who he is. Okay? And you notice it's not so much rooted in his physicality like it is, say, a woman's. Now, let's take an old man, okay? Like an Andrew Carnegie, for example, that lived, I don't know, somewhere into his 90s or late 80s. Even though the man was on his deathbed, the man was frail and weak and could barely speak. He could write commands and orders down on a piece of paper and hand them to his assistant and have them carried out. That man was still feared by other men around the entire world. He could shut down entire docks at different ports throughout the country. He could call for strikes. He could limit or severely cut off the import and export of certain goods and materials to entire countries if he wanted to. The man was feared even though he was old and physically weak. Now, one of the interesting characteristics of this theory that I have that when a man hits the wall, it's when he is no longer perceived as a threat. One of the interesting things about it is that you see a man once if he does hit the wall and no longer becomes a threat to other men, he's not stuck there. You see, when a woman hits the wall, okay, it is age related, okay? And you see, when she starts running out of eggs, when she no longer can pull Chad and Tyrone, and when her overall beauty fades, that is actually all around about the age of 30. And then once that happens, she has hit the wall. And once a woman hits the wall, she can't go back. She can't jump back over that wall and get back over on the other side. But you see, a man, if a man hits the wall, like let's go back to our 30-year-old example. If he wanted to, he could go on a diet. He could start working out. He could get a job. Okay, he could start running. He could quit the all the junk food. He could get his life in order. He could become something else than what he currently is. Now, once he transforms and becomes those things, becomes productive, starts creating, starts building, gets himself in order, okay, he then also acquires the characteristic of becoming a threat to other men. So you see, he could get unwalled, if you will. Okay, so you see, that's an interesting characteristic that I think about men. Although they could hit the wall, they could jump back across the wall and unwall themselves, where women cannot. Okay, now see, we could reverse this. Take an example of an old man that is on Social Security, and his physical body has failed him, and he has lost resources. He's lost his contacts. He really doesn't have any allies or alliances. That man is no longer a threat to any other man. Therefore, he has hit the wall. You can take a 40-year-old, who's homeless, has become sickly, is drug addicted, and is no longer a physical threat to anybody. Well, he's no longer really a threat to any other man. Okay, so he has hit the wall. But if he chose to, he could clean up his life, he could get back into the game, and he could unwall himself. So once again, another example of how men, even though they hit the wall, they could unwall themselves and get back to the other side. So this is my theory about when men actually hit the wall. And I do think that it is rather unique. Now, one of the interesting things about this idea that a man is when a man is no longer a threat to other men, that's when he hits the wall. You see, as long as a man is a threat to other men, some woman is going to find him attractive. I don't care what age he is. Okay, I don't care if you might say, well, it's the money. Well, if a man has resources and access to money, he's a threat to other men. You see, are you catching on? You see, these things like the money, these are not direct attractants. They are more signifiers of being able to be a threat, okay, than anything else. If a man is absolutely dirt poor, but yet he is in prime optimal health, okay, and he lifts weights, well, you see, he is physically a threat to other men, even though he doesn't have any money. So you see, it could work that way as well, too. So you see, a man can stay unwalled for a very long time, either through keeping up his physicality, keeping up his finances and resources, and or both. This is why a man doesn't hit the wall on average till much, 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 much later in life. And women start hitting the wall around 30 years old. Yeah. So anyways, this is my own personal theory as to when a man actually hits the wall. And it's interesting. Uh, it's so I think Machiavelli actually figured this one out a long, long time ago when he wrote The Prince, and he was trying to answer the question: is it better to be loved, or is it better to be feared? And on a personal note, let me just say this to a few of you folks out there. Apparently, you don't fear me enough. That was your first mistake. Don't let you make the second mistake. And for God's sakes, don't come on this channel leaving stupid ass comments. Don't come on this channel. If you're not going to leave a similar comment on Hammerhand's channel, by golly, you better not come to my channel and leave any kind of comment otherwise. Okay? I'm just warning you right now. You know, there's nothing worse than a frenemy. Now, I know who the enemies are. They're out in the open. But you frenemies, for some reason, I'm not so sure if you understand. I know exactly who you are. I've been knowing who you are for a very long time. Maybe you better stay the fuck off of my channel altogether. And then we could stay friends. Because you just never know who you're really messing with. You catch my drift? And with that, I'm Captain Rusty Rivers. Bye.